are back. Welcome to Let's Chat. You know I'm Miss Lissha and got my right hand, and most of the time she is my left, the fabulous Miss Toni. Y'all, we having a good time tonight. Let me tell y'all. We done talked about some of everything. Shout out to James Rodman. So, James Rodman, this is for you. We're going to talk about it. We're waiting for Blake Karrington to come and kick it with us in the chat room. So we're going to talk about it real quick. The friend zone. Is it friend or foe? What do y'all think? Let's talk about the friend zone, ladies, because we've had two men to say, they're not feeling what we do when we place them in the friend zone. Are there ways they can avoid being in the friend zone? What do you think, T?
Mm-hmm. It was interesting, saying that was. Can you hear me, Leash? I can hear you.
Okay, T, I want you to go out and come back in.
Okay, now I can hear. Okay.
T, gonna go out and come back in. Gibbs, how are you? What do you think, Gibbs? How can men stay out of the friend zone?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I was going to say, because it's interesting to hear how there are different perspectives on, and it's kind of the same on that friend zone. I never really thought about it until Andrew Hess, our last guest, brought it up, and James kind of co-signed on it. So, did they go into the relationship trying to be someone's friend, or going into the relationship showing some interest? That's where I'm confused a little bit.
But you know what I think it is, T? I think that men feel the best way to get into our presence is to be our friend first.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's
I think that's how they get themselves in the friend zone, and they don't know how to get out. Because when you approached on the friend level.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But in relationships, we really want that person to be our best friend. But ladies, I'm about to say this, and y'all don't send me no inboxes. Please stop trying to marry everybody you date.
That's so true.
Everybody you date, it's not it. It's not it. Like, we skip all these other different steps that we're supposed to get to when getting in a relationship. We get to chemistry, and it's like, hot dog. Let's go. Let's get something shaking. But really, you can have chemistry with 50 different people. And the problem with that is, then we're placing responsibilities on that person that they can't handle. So when we place them in the friend zone, that's something that that's a label that we've placed on them that now we know they cannot handle because they feel that type of relationship is torture. When I think it's their fault they're in the friend zone in the first place, because like Andrew was saying, if you guys missed it, head over to YouTube or Ebony TV and check out the replay. But you got to step forward and make your intentions be known. I think the intent behind when they approach us and when they befriend us is not the same as what they want.
So true. And also, it's do you want to put that out there that I just want to be your friend when you're really interested in this person? I've never experienced it. I've never personally experienced something like that. Not to say that it doesn't happen, because obviously it does.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Gibbs says people need to learn to just be honest. So is there a lack of honesty when we are dating?
That's interesting that she says. And also she says the majority of them know they only want one thing, and they should just say that, which is sex.
Well, that skit or something with Lala and the guy from Wildin' Out, and it's like, what would it look like if people were completely honest in a relationship? And it talked about it, and that's how they played the skit. But honestly, I really believe that you have to be open and honest. You have to be transparent, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you want somebody to trust you, because he trusts. A lot of people feel, oh, I don't trust women, I don't trust men. No, you don't trust your discernment, you don't trust your judgment when you
Mm-hmm.
get in that type of situation. So sometimes that comes from the type of people that you're choosing.
Mm-hmm. But if you're not being honest, how are you supposed to achieve what it is that you want to achieve? At some point, the facade has to be dropped. This is what I want. You're who I want. So let's make it happen. I'm just not the type of person to be going around the merry-go-round and trying to stop. Just, this is what I want. Let me do what I got to do to get what I want. That's just who I am.
Exactly. Exactly. Be
Mhm.
straightforward about it.
Mhm.
And don't be beating around the bush. Nobody really got time for that. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry, guys, but we
Too much
don't.
time. Too much
If
wasted time.
you want something, because this is the thing. If you want something, then you have to make sure that um, you speak it. You got to
Mhm.
speak. You got to say, closed mouth don't get fed.
That's
So if
true.
you're beating around the bush, I'm gonna let you beat around the bush, and I'm not gonna, because I need you to be strong. I need you to be take. We need you to take the lead.
And while they're beating around that bush, I done went on my way. I don't have time for that.
Like I gotta wait. Like I'm waiting on you. I don't want to wait on you. You don't
Mhm.
want to wait on me, so I don't want to wait on you.
Mhm. Time is precious because you don't get that time back. So let's all be upfront and say what we want and want what we say.
Absolutely. What's in the comments, T? What's in the comments?
Okay, James is back in. He says it's confusing for some men. What's confusing, James? I don't understand. And
Honesty. Look,
Gift says,
honesty.
she wrote, I know. She says they'll claim they're not looking for a relationship when they really are. Also, some only want a friendship, but lie and say they want a relationship. So they flip flopping. Which one is it? Friendship or relationship? Which
But
ship
that's
you
what
want
I'm
to sail?
saying. And so what's confusing, James? Honesty.
Oh,
I mean,
Andrew's in.
oh
Hey,
hey
Andrew, you got
Andrew.
this. You got this started, Andrew.
We over here, we talking about it. We talking about it, Andrew. But yeah, so James, we're not understanding what you're saying. Are you saying that honesty is confusing? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying. We don't want to take what you're saying out of context. So can you be clear in the comments so that we can know exactly what you're saying?
And Andrew says it's very true. The longer you wait, the more chance you lose out. Oh, that's a good point. I think that's what he was saying also when he was on the show. Okay, James answered while Andrew's over there laughing.
He said it's confusing for some men. Okay, James, what is confusing? Is the honesty confusing? We understand that the friend zone is confusing, but we're saying if you are honest with your intentions up front and you get placed in the friend zone, then it's not confusing because you were honest about what it was that you were intending and that what you wanted.
Oh,
And
he answered
then,
me. He says it's if we're too aggressive, it turns women off. Take too long, and the friend zone happens. So there's a flip and there's a flop. You got to go in this confident because, first of all, women love
yeah,
confident men. We love
confident
men
with
that
power. we we
they.
we we attract power. We gravitate to power and confidence. So it's not necessarily aggressiveness, because aggressiveness
Mhm.
is rude, but you got to be powerful and confident in what you're
You
asking.
you have to be you have to finesse it. You have to come off knowing what you want, and like I said, want what you know. You this is what I want. You don't have to be aggressive about it. You just be confident about it, if that makes sense.
What you think, James? What you think, Andrew? We talking about it, y'all.
James says that's confusing. What do you mean, James? What you mean, man? It's so simple. What do you think, Gibbs? Gibbs has a good comes from a different perspective. What do you think, Gibbs? This is interesting, Leash. We should have a panel. How many people can we get on our screen?
10. We got up to 10 people.
This we're gonna have to get a panel going.
It's only
Okay.
confidence if she's attracted deeply. That's not true. That's not true. That means the intent behind what you want is conditional. We're going to be able to see right through that.
Okay, and Andrew says he agrees with me. Thank you, Andrew. That's that Long Island connection. Gibbs says, I'm trying to get more people over here. Oh, thanks, Gibbs. She's
Oh,
always
thank
supporting us.
you.
She's always supporting us. She says she can't share it, Leash.
You got to be able to share it. Are you on the Let's Chat page, Gibbs? You should
She's
be
always
able to
supporting
share
us.
it. I'm excited for when Blake comes in here. He'll be in here in a few minutes. He's getting
Yeah.
set up, but
Mm-hmm. Let's close that to him.
I want to ask him the friend zone question as well. Now, James, you mentioned that's confusing.
Okay, look at Andrew. He says, first you need to know what you want, know the person you're interested in, and make your intentions clear. Exactly. That's exactly what I was posing to our panel. You have to know what you want and be confident in what it is that you want and expressive in what it is you want. Don't beat around that bush, because you beat around the bush, people are going to move on.
Very true.
Okay,
So,
James
James,
answered.
was that confusing, James?
He says, I see women never friend zone a no good guy because he was attracted to her.
But listen, is it that he's no good? That's what is attracting her. We've talked about this before. It's not the no good part that we're attracted to. It's the power and the confidence that we're attracted to. So most bad boys are very confident and they exude power. It steps with them. When they walk in the room, they control the room before they open up their mouth. We like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Just like I command the room when I walk into the room. That's just something that
exactly,
comes.
that draws y'all in.
Mm-hmm. It's that naturalness, you know, and it's
Okay,
all in how you perceive yourself as well.
okay, T, take the lead. I'm gonna get Blake in.
Okay. Oh, James says he expresses himself well. Okay, well, James, you got to get up in here in the show. Most women know these lame dudes are no good. They never friends on them. Crazy. Well, I've never called a person no good. That's just me. But if he's no good, he's no good. He don't need to be in friend zone, relationship zone, no kind of zone. So it's interesting that you go back to the lame dudes. But James, we're gonna have to get you up into the chat room because we want that face. We want to see you. And probably even get Andrew up in here. How many people? Lisa said we can get 10 people up here.
We
This is
can
a
get
panel
people
that
up
we
in
need
here.
for
We can talk
discussion.
about it. We're gonna talk about it with some men. We've had a men's panel before. Now, I will say, the intent behind what you're doing could be giving yourself away beforehand, like where she can see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. I see women never friend zone no good guy because he was attractive to her. But it's not that he's a no good guy. That is what is attracting her. It's his energy, really. It's his energy and his
That's a good
essence.
point.
That's just
That's a
like
good perk.
saying that you guys that men are only attracted to weaker women. what's a weak woman look like? You see what I'm saying? What's a no good guy look like? We can't stereotype it. We got to go deeper into the why. What is it in their characteristics that is drawing them in?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can say a man needs to have a more submissive woman. Okay, what does that look like? Why is
Right.
that?
And also, sometimes men just, I know men are visual, and and I can't sit here and say that I know a man's mind, but the guys that I do know are very visual. So they may take an attractive woman over a woman that may not be as attractive, but has more substance. What do you think about that, James? What do you think about that, Andrew? Would that person be placed in a friend zone? How
And
do you place those, situations?
right, and you attract who you are. So, male or female, if you're only attracting unavailable females or unavailable men, that means that in your core, you yourself are really unavailable. Whether your focus is another relationship, whether your focus is a career, whether your focus is a vision that you have, you're
Mm-hmm.
attracting who you are at the same time. You're manifesting those things with your energy.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay. So let's see what same goes for us men. We know the no good women from the jump. Oh.
Okay, so what about her? What about her drew you in? It was her looks, right? Now we're not counting the men that use women as beards. I learned that new thing. It's a new word. I was like, what's a beard? So apparently there's some men that use women as beards or covers. So they need pretty girls all the time. They need a visual look to cover up themselves. And whether they're attracted to other men or if they have emotional issues, whatever it is, they tend to wear women like beards to avoid looking at themselves. Does that happen, James? What you think?
He said he attract what he desires, but Gibbs says Gibbs,
It's not working. How about you share your regular games? You just shared it.
I shared it on my page, Gibbs, but Gibbs says a lot of men are annoying. They think with their little head instead of their big head. Gibbs just laying it all out there. It is what it is.
What you mean? What you saying,
Oh
James?
my
What you
goodness.
saying? Y'all, we just going through the comments. Blake is gonna be here shortly. He gonna set it all off, y'all. Watch. Mark my words. When Blake Carrington get up in here, he gonna set the whole conversation off. It's gonna go to a whole new level. Watch.
Okay. Andrew said he has to agree with you, Leash. You made a good point. She did make a good point. Absolutely. So they need to be gentlemen. It's annoying they think being romantic is gay. Hmm.
Really?
That's interesting, Giz, because I think that if a man is into something, if a man is into a woman, he wants to put his best foot forward to make her happy, be that is romantic or something that he knows that she enjoys. So I want to say that a man takes care of something that means something to him.
Well, I will say, provided he knows himself. Sometimes you have people, and I'm going to say females or males. If you find in the last 6 months you've had 10 different relationships, you're jumping from relationship to relationship. You're looking for something that you're never going to find because whatever it is that you're looking for, you have to look for it in yourself first. It's something
Mm-hmm.
that you are missing that you need to give yourself, but we don't reflect on that. We want to say, oh, it's this person's fault. I got in this bad relationship. It's this person's fault. At some point in time, you got to look at yourself. If you're meeting the
Mm-hmm.
same person and having the same issues, what is it inside you that you need to correct so that you can attract what you feel you deserve?
Mm-hmm.
I never heard that nonsense before. James, we need to have you in the chat room. We will have just an absolute good time.
Oh, look what Andrew says. He says, so going back to my dating days, I went to a bar all the time with my best friend. He was loud, confident, and usually went after any woman he wanted. I'm polar opposite. I was just myself, no intention of dating anyone at the bar, but I wanted a relationship and a family. The woman behind the bar took interest in me and asked me for my number and asked me out. See, I can relate to that because everybody has different intentions, but you have to make your intentions known. And if
I,
that person is in tune with you, they'll pick up on it. You
listen,
know,
I could be in
just like
tune
she
all
picked up
day.
on him.
I could be in tune all day. I'm not asking you out. If you are not confident enough to step and ask me out, then we're gonna be in silence because I need you to take the lead and be confident and step forward in it. If you beating around the bush, I'm gonna let you sit there and run around the block, and I'm gonna look at you like, what are
Okay.
you doing it?
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put myself out there now. Those that listen know I don't usually put my own personal business out
She
there, but
don't. She
tonight,
don't.
but the night I met my husband, I hadn't known him. You know, I was at a club here in the city in Manhattan, and when I
Wait,
walked through the door, see,
wait. Tony
I
been to
don't
a
be
club,
sharing stuff.
y'all. She a clever.
I don't be sharing myself. But I went to the club and I looked up and I saw this guy standing, and I told my best friend James, that was my best friend at the time that we were talking about the last show. I told my best friend, there goes my husband. Hadn't said one word to him, but I knew that that was my soulmate. And throughout I must have been putting off some type of aura because I love to dance, Leash. You know, I love to dance. And
Okay.
guys were coming over to me asking me to dance, and I was telling them all no. And when they would leave me, I didn't know this until later, but when they left me, they went to him and said, "Man, she waiting on you." I didn't I didn't know that they had said that to him. You know, I'm just being me. But they weren't who I wanted. He knew he was who I wanted and I was who he wanted. So long story short, we've been married 28 years.
Gift said
I
I
don't usually
heard.
share myself with that.
Wait, Gift said I heard so many guys claim that they don't eat.
Oh.
But women love
Mhm.
head just like men. Okay, listen, that's a two-way street, y'all. That's a two-way street. And just like we're gonna do a show about it. We're gonna do a show about it. I mean, I ain't
Oh,
gonna talk.
we
We ain't
are.
gonna talk about that. We ain't gonna talk about that right now. We got a good show coming in
We are.
August. We got a good show
Oh my
coming in
God.
August. I'm not gonna ruin it, but we gotta have Love Maya in the chat room. You know, Love Maya is a sex therapist, and she's gonna come in and talk that talk. So y'all listen. We gonna have a show about it. We
Gibbs.
gonna have a show.
Gibbs. See what you undone, Gibbs?
We gonna have a show about it. We gonna have a show about it. But so we're not gonna talk about it now. We on live. We don't want to get banned. You know, Facebook be sensitive. And we on
That'll be
YouTube.
on our
YouTube,
radio show.
yeah, YouTube sensitive too. That's gonna be on the radio show. That's gonna be on the radio show. In August. We already got the guests lined up. Just gotta get the date together. Yep, eyes,
Oh
honey,
my gosh.
eyes. We are talking about it.
Too funny. Too funny. Oh my God. They going off in the chat, Leash. They are telling, they speaking it. Gibbs says, not you what, Gibbs? You got this started. What are you talking about? Not me.
Gibbs is a mess.
She
What we
on one
gonna do?
tonight. She's like, Andrew wants to know what show. So he's having
Absolutely, we're having a show about it. We have two sex therapists that are going to be in the chat room, and we're going to definitely talk about it with them. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about open relationships, closed relationships. Honey, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk a little bit about August being out of pocket. I'm just saying he was out of pocket. We got the fabulous Blake Carrington in the chat room. He over there bubbling. What you saying, Blake? He was out of pocket.
He was definitely out of pocket. You know that.
Hey Blake, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? It's been a minute since we've seen
good.
each other.
Yes, it has been.
Well, you know he was all the way out of pocket gonna go on that radio station talking about that. He didn't supposed to. Even if you was involved, you know you wasn't supposed to go on there talking about that.
Spilling those beans.
But wait a minute. wait a minute. Ain't that his MO? If you think about back in the day, him and Trey Songz, when they fell out, that's his thing. That's his thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
He got opportunistic things.
Right, yeah.
Right. To be able to shape his movement. And so I just don't think he thought they were going to say anything.
But he sat on that for all these years. And then you decide to bring that out.
All the women in between.
And see, I was telling my partner, I was like, everybody was talking about how Will was upset. I said, I think Will was more upset at the fact, like, yo, all this that we don't done, and you pick this guy, and he comes out like this the guy you pick. I think that's more what he was upset about. It was just like, wow. You know,
I think it's embarrassment though, Blake.
Huh?
Do you think it has to do with embarrassment as well, or no? From a man's perspective.
I think that's the embarrassing part. Like, it's sometimes where you can be like, okay, like, whether you like no homo, but like you can see, okay, I can see what you might find attractive about this person, right? Or whatever the situation is. And so, but then he probably looking at like, okay, I mean, you got to know that this is the type of guy that waits and, like I said, go on a radio station, say this stuff, you know, put all your business out there, like. Wow, like you should have seen something in him at some point to where you was like, okay, hell on, maybe this ain't the person.
Right.
But
bringing up what we got going on.
Right, but then again, in a relationship, that may not be something that he puts out in the forefront for her to experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, people can experience different forms of you. And so the petty side, she probably never experienced that until now. It's like, oh.
If she was 22, yeah. If she was like 25, 30, okay, maybe. But now you at some point, like you were just saying, you got to see the way he interact with other people, and that should give you an idea.
But it's Hollywood. You know, Hollywood do things a little bit different than us regular folks. They do things,
and also
not all of them, some of them.
But also with Jada and Willa, you know, they are old Jada and Willa.
Right.
All eyes are a lot of eyes are on them, and whatever controversy they're involved in gets blown up even bigger.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was. I think that, like you're saying, that's more the. I don't want to say the embarrassing part, because I'm pretty sure, like Will Smith, the circle that he move in, right? He know about that. It's just
they said that he knew, so he knew what it was. I think it's how it came about, and even she mentioned it. She was like, "I don't like how it came about, but basically, it's nothing I could do about it now."
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting. We have someone that said that the Smith should never give any type of relationship advice. I have to agree with that.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know though. I don't know. Like,
what
at the end of the day, it's
what not to do, maybe.
That's right. No, it's really whatever in a marriage. It's whatever works for you. Whatever you need to do to make that marriage work and last, that makes both of you happy. That is what you do. But marriage has levels, and half the time people are not focused on the right things, and they can't get past level 1 because they're not focused properly to be able to take it to level 2, 3, and be able to go throughout the years 20, 30, 40, especially now 50 years. We get distracted fast because we probably got married for the wrong reason. Yeah, I said,
remember how Chris Rock would say, like, you only as faithful as your options, and you got to think about Will and Jada. Their options are endless because they have access to everything. So of course, a person who we just getting up, going to work every day, making them pay our bills, your options are very limited. It's going to be a lot easier.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Jada, they got option to every single thing. It's nothing that they really can't do. So
endless.
Yeah. It's
that's a different perspective.
Right. That's an interesting point there. I never thought of it that way.
See, I told you I was gonna take this thing to a whole nother level. We're supposed to be here talking about books. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's talk about
the fabulous Blake Karrington. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your literary journey.
Wow. Well, man, mine go back all the way to I started I started in books in October of 1995. So I go
Oh,
way,
wow.
way back. So when I first started, I started off as a bookstore. And I
Mhm.
opened up a bookstore in Charlotte, North Carolina. Anybody from this area probably remember. This is when only place that you can buy black books were at black bookstores. The only time
Mhm.
that you could get a black author in like the traditional mainstream stores was you had to be buying like Toni Morrison, maybe James Baldwin, something along that line. So
Mhm.
back then, we had about 5 or 6 black distributors, and they was all spaced out, mainly in New York, Chicago, and then L.A. or they was in Inglewood at that time. And so I started off
Mhm.
just simply selling African American books. And then as I
Mhm.
progressed, things got to where we started publishing because there were not a lot of black publishers. And back then, Essence had this thing called the Essence Bestsellers List. And that was probably
Mhm.
the main book best-selling list for African American authors and readers. Readers wanted to know what was hot
Mhm.
out. They went to Essence. And
That's
so
right.
back then, guy Patrick Bass was the he was like the editor for Essence. But this is, I think Susan Taylor was the editor. I thought Patrick was like the one over books. And
Mm-hmm.
so he
Mhm.
got a lot of us black bookstore owners that he brought us together, and we would choose the Essence bestseller list.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
So, so from us doing black books and selling them, we went into publishing because we would get these authors that was coming, and then we had a little bit of pull because we chose the bestsellers list. So from
Mhm.
that, we went into publishing with the black distributors who we had, and that's back when it was like, again, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Culture Plus books and Lucina books, and this is like probably like late '90s, early 2000s. And
Right.
Mhm.
then, of course, when I can't remember exactly when Stella Got a Groove came out, the
Mhm.
movie, that kind of really propelled African American books. And so a lot of the mainstream writers started going to the bigger stores, to the bigger companies, and guys, people like Simon Schuster and them, they started going and picking up black authors and stuff. And then
Mhm.
from there, I started I started a publishing house. I ended up selling the publishing company to a larger house to start their black line. So I couldn't do any publishing during that time because it was a non-compete clause.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
So whenever books would come in, as a publisher, you going through the books and you reading them, and I'm making adjustments to them. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Shannon Holmes,
Yeah.
but he wrote "Be More
Mhm.
Careful." So
Mhm.
Shannon was a good friend of mine. He used to come down all the time, and him and Vicky had started Triple Crown. And so he was
Mhm.
telling me, he's like, you should write something. So he was like, I'll help you. And so we sat down and he helped me write my first book, which was called All or Nothing. And
Mhm.
from that, I ended up going. It was, of course, an Essence bestseller. And that's what got me into writing because I couldn't do any publishing for those 3 years because of the
Oh,
Mhm.
non-compete. Then
right.
from starting to write like that, then we started publishing, and then again a lot of the larger houses because at that time if you was an urban author, you wasn't getting signed to a major. They didn't even
Wow.
have a division for that. And
Oh,
so
Mhm.
after the success of like True to the Game, Be More Careful, and then Vicky and them with Triple Crown, a lot of them started to open up, and then they kind of started bringing in urban authors. And so from that
Mm.
point, that got me more and more in thrust. And by this time, Carl Weber and them were doing real good. He was over there with Kensington and them. And so everything just started building up, and that's what just really got me into writing. And it had its course, and then of course once this ebook thing happened, it was like the
Mhm.
next level thrust. And so when Amazon
Mm.
came out with that, it was like a whole new group of authors, all new people in the industry, and just getting back formatted into that and putting out material, and here we are today.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah,
absolutely.
I started off selling books. That was it.
So I want to go
Mm.
back. We always talk about a go moment, and I know you talked about Shannon help you in suggesting that you start writing a book, and you're like, okay, yeah. But how have you grown as an author, a publisher, and a man, because a businessman as well, from the first time you stepped into business in the literary world to now? How have you seen yourself grow?
Well, now the first book that I wrote, I really sat down and wrote it off of something that I was familiar with. It was a girl who I grew up with, and I decided that I wanted to kind of tell her story because she had passed away, and I thought it was a very
Oh.
interesting story. And so
Mhm.
I, in me writing it, when I go back and look at it, I was really in that primary stage of writing because a lot of stuff is not developed because you have all these thoughts in your head, and it was just, okay, how quick can I get it down on paper? And
Mhm.
Mhm.
so as I'm putting it down on paper, though, I'm not realizing. First thing I wasn't realizing was the effect that a story could have on
Mhm.
people reading it. And
Mhm.
Right.
so I think the first time, this was my second book signing, and I went to it, and this young lady, when she came up to me, she was actually crying, and she was
Oh
like,
wow.
"I can't." She
Oh.
said, "I can't stand you," and I was like,
Oh.
"What? Like how do I know you? Where do I know you from?" And she was saying, she said, "Because you wouldn't let Chantel win," and I was like, "What are you?" That was the character name in the book.
Right, you like who's Chantel?
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, she was like, you should have let her win. She had been through so much. She deserved to win. And her story is like my story.
Oh.
And I was for her. And you just did her so wrong. And I'm like, yeah, this is really a fictional character. But it made me realize the power of how people get into the books, and these characters and these situations that we're writing about are so real that people, they get kinship with these characters.
That's
And
right.
so it did help me in the next book that I started to write, because I realized that even though I'm trying to tell the story the way that it's in my head, I also got to look
Mhm.
at it from a reader's point of view, because they are engulfed in this story. And
Mhm.
as you're trying to take them through this road, you want to make it as enjoyable as possible, as well as make it as real as possible. Because I always tell people I
Mhm.
write reality fiction. So
Mhm.
I don't just have it to where it's going to always be the way that you want it to unfold, but it's going to be a real way
Mhm.
that it happens.
Mhm.
And so that growth part. Now, when we were writing back then, again, everything was strictly really African American. Like our distributor was an African American guy. The readers
Mhm.
were black. All the
Mhm.
authors were black. So it wasn't a thing about you having to worry about dealing with contracts and things along this line, because pretty much everybody knew each other. And it's like, I send you cases of books, I know what I sent you. And so
Mhm.
now once we got to where these books started selling, and it was like a multi-million dollar business involved, then
Mhm.
you realize that, okay, this is not just the book game, it's the book business.
That's
And
right.
Mhm.
one thing an agent told me early on, he said, they don't call it the New York Times best written book. It's called the best sellers,
Sell it.
because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, that's what matters. And so
Mhm.
Mhm.
there's a difference. And what I used to tell authors this when they used to sign to us is that there's a difference in writing for what you enjoy and then writing for a living. Because when
That's
you
right.
write for a living, you have to write for
Mhm.
what the market and the audience is looking for.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that was a growth that I had to really, you know, grow to, because in the beginning, again, I was just writing stuff that I was familiar with. And now you got to
Mhm.
try to write for where the market is and what the audience is looking for,
Mhm.
especially when ebooks
Mhm.
came about. Because
Mhm.
when we were dealing with paperbacks, you wouldn't meet the people who read your books until after you had
Mhm.
already written the book. And then there would be communication about that. Well, when ebooks
Mhm.
came, no, you're in communication with the readers in the midst of writing the book every single day. And so because of
Yes.
that, it made it to where they really were directing the way that things would be written and unfolded, and what you'd be bringing out and
Mhm.
what was selling and that type of thing. So
You're a
Mhm.
whole
But
literary
but also
encyclopedia.
that's
say
so
that
true.
again.
So true.
Say that again. I
I
missed
said you a whole literary encyclopedia.
it. Oh
Listen,
yeah, I've been
if
in this
y'all
a
need
long
to
time.
know, inbox Blake. He knows. He'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, when Carl was shooting this movie, we was out there talking. This was last year, and we were just remembering, because I remember back when, again, like, you knew every distributor, every author. Like when it was Elin Harris and Zane and all these guys, when everybody was new, and Tawana Butler, and just everybody knew each other. So when we went to
Mhm.
events and stuff, it was like everybody was there. We was all familiar. And then again, once it became mainstream and everybody was signing with companies, and it was like the whole landscape of books just changed.
Mhm.
So
So true. So true. But I want to go back, Blake, because you said you when the woman approached you at the book signing, do you feel that those that are writing reality, in order for it to be more receptive to your reader, do you feel that they have to sprinkle in, even though it may be your life story, you want to sprinkle in some fiction just to make it more palatable to your reader? And also that helps to know your audience. You gotta mix it up a little bit.
Right. Definitely. And that's why, like she was saying, that's the thing about the growth in the writing style. Because, you know, in the beginning, you're just trying to get out your thoughts. And then I got
Right.
to say, the first editor that I worked with that really, really helped me along with Tina Nance is that Tina used to would hit me back and be like, yeah, Blake, I don't know. I don't think a woman would say this. I don't think the person would, and then it would make me have to go and research and do a little bit more, study on what it was I was writing about. And so,
Mhm.
I think it is a part about doing your due diligence in telling a story, because I used to be the other way. Sometimes, like, I'll look at a person's book and they'd be like, yeah, they were in the room and they was with like a 2,000 keys of heroin. And I'm like, who would have that, because if you're familiar with any of it, you'd be like, yeah, that's not really realistic. And so I think that's part of that growth, is that, okay, yeah, it's fiction, but again, you want it to be able to at least line up to where you can say, okay, you know what, that can happen, you know.
That's true. That's so true. Because also, you talked about Shannon Holm. He's one of my clients. I actually edited his last book. And an
Okay.
editor and an author has to have that type of rapport where they can go back and forth. I can tell Shannon, okay, this just doesn't
Right.
flow. I know you could do better. I know you could do better. And you go back and forth. So you have to have that relationship. And
Definitely.
that's what the readers look
Right.
for.
And I
And
almost,
that
she can tell me sometimes, she can like, I can see you was rushing here, because she will.
exactly.
Right. And sometimes you do get like that. You like, okay, I'm tired of this scene, so I'm just gonna zoom. And it's like, no, we need more. Like, why would she
Exactly.
say that?
I
Why
want
would
to
he?
know the why. I
Right.
want to feel it. I want to smell it. I want to touch it. And I know that you can give me that. So I put those in there because that's real. That's what your editor's there for, to pull the best that you have within you.
That's
Right.
right.
And one thing Walter Mosley had said this one time in a book I read, and I was just like, yo, that is it. He was just saying, like, that's why you have to write every day, because when
Hmm.
you don't, you will lose those characters. And day to day,
Right.
if you put them down for a while, it's hard. But when you really write every day, sometimes I'm going to
Hmm.
sleep and I'm thinking about what this character is gonna do. And when I'm waking up and in the
Hmm.
middle of the night, you toss it, and you're really dealing with their issues. And I think that, like you said, when a person challenges you to look at those things that you just kind of
Hmm.
ran through, it makes for
Hmm.
so much a better story. You know,
That's right.
Right.
yeah. So
And then when it comes back, I'm like, this is what I was
right.
asking for. I knew you had it. It's just a
But
matter of drawing it out.
it's so much harder now, because again, stuff comes to the market so quick. Back when you realistically, like, when a book used to come out, you turn that manuscript in, it might be, a year before that book is ever going to hit the market, because
That's
it has
right.
to go
Hmm.
through distribution, it has to get printed, and
Right.
all these other things.
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
you can get, to market in 24 hours, just load it up to Amazon. And so I think that shortens the time period for you to get books out, but in the same time, it shortens your level of telling the story, because I haven't lived enough new life to write
Mm.
something new with some new stuff happening,
Hmm.
because I
Hmm.
just got to write the other book. And so I think you need that
Right.
break. And if you don't, again, have a person there that can help you and force you, you'll find yourself pushing just material out and not
Right.
really giving the
And
reader the best product.
exactly.
Absolutely. Now, what's the biggest challenge that you have experienced when creating a character?
The biggest challenge to me, outside of writing a female character, is
Hmm.
writing male characters or lifestyles that I'm unfamiliar with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Really.
right. So, because, and Shannon, I know, can relate to this, like, because we have been pretty much entrepreneurs most of our life and
Hmm.
stuff. So when I'm trying to think of, like, the adversity that I would have for let's just say a normal character who
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
uh, and that may not be the best word, but for just a guy, let's say that goes to work every day, comes home, what's gonna be his conflict? And so
Mhm.
sometimes when I'm trying to write that story, I think I minimize their struggle because, as an entrepreneur, you're dealing with, is this going to work? I got to create something. I got to try to do all these things so
Mhm.
I can line up all these reasons. Whereas when I'm
Mhm.
trying to write about a character of a lifestyle I'm not familiar with, it is very challenging. So
Mhm. But do you research? Do you talk to people in that certain area that you're trying to write with? Do you do
I do,
interviews with them?
but then you know what the issue with that is? I be like, yo, that ain't no problem. Like, because it's not a problem in comparison to.
But but
I be like,
but that's not your
I be like, okay,
problem. It's
right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I gotta be able to match my mind. I'm like, I got a partner who like that, and I'm like, so what is it? He's like, oh man, like you got to deal with this boss that, and I'm just like, yeah, that ain't really the same thing though. Like yeah, you get good money to do that. Like that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not the same. When you know this as an editor, you got to find clients. Now
Mhm.
that's a project, and then you got to
Oh
keep.
yes.
Then you got to collect your
Mhm.
money, and you got to do like,
Mhm.
okay, now
It's a
this in
process.
comparison, right? Now imagine somebody just saying, "Listen, we're gonna give you, you're an editor for the company. The clients are there, the people are there. Yeah, the woman might get on your nerves, but everything
Mhm.
else is kind of laid out for you.
It's
So
flowing.
sometimes it's hard for me to be like sympathetic.
Let me
Mhm.
tell you, she got that hardcore red pen. You remember that teacher back in elementary school where you stayed up past your bedtime, your mom was giving you snacks, you was writing that paper, them
Right,
little 3 paragraphs. You
right,
was
right.
writing them 3 paragraphs, and then you get them in, you got all this confidence, you turn that paper in, you slam it on the desk. I did my homework. And then you
Right.
see that mug back with all these red marks
Red
on it.
marks on it.
That's Tony.
That's
Holy that's because I want the best for my
that's
clients.
And Tony, that's
My
what the
red
teacher
pen
used
is
to say too,
famous.
right? That's what the teacher
Huh?
used to say. I used to have a teacher, Miss Harris, my English teacher. Same thing, like you said. I think I did a great job. She'd be like, "Nah," I'm like, "I know you could have done better than this."
Exactly.
Right? I'm like, "I
I
think
can
I did a
relate
good
to that.
job."
I must have never responded to that. Like that was like my best stuff.
Right? And that's what she said. She said, "I know you can do better. I already know."
See, I have two clients that are in the chat room listening to us, so they can relate because they felt
So
they
they
felt
definitely
my
can
red
relate.
pen.
Now,
Right?
Blake, you just recently put out another book. You took a little break. You put out a book. Tell us about your new release.
The last book I did was really like a novella. It's just something I had because sometimes I'll be going through my laptop and I will start and I use the outline when I write. So
Uh-huh.
a lot of
Mhm.
times I have a full book outline, but I may start on it and then I'll be like, I'm kind of that's not where I'm gonna jump back into this one. And so
Mhm.
I had, as I was going through, I seen that I had a couple of books that I had written a good amount on, but they just wasn't
Mhm.
done. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back
Mm.
and do something with it. I'm in a mood for it. And so I actually kind of had two books. I did the Faith and Trust part one and two back to back. And those were some books that I had actually started on. I had a deal for, and then if
Mm.
maybe about 5 years ago, some of the larger publishing houses, especially Hatchet and them, they went through a lot because of the
Yeah.
Amazon lawsuit, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So a
Mhm.
lot of our projects were put on hold, and then eventually were just given back to us. And so that was part of that series right there was one that was given back. And so I put that one out. And then A Thug Worth Fighting For was one that I just did as a novella because again I had written a lot of the story and I just wanted to go in and kind of fill out some parts and flush it out and end up putting it out. Just wanted
Mhm.
it's something different. It's about a guy
Mhm.
who had a young lady who he was like the apple of his eye, had everything he wanted with his family and her, and she ended up getting hooked on drugs. And then from that, it's like
Mhm.
he decided to move on, and then it's like, but he always really did love her, and when she got herself clean, she felt like she wanted her family back.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, but he's met a new woman, and do you move on, or does she have a right to come back and get her family back because that is her child, and these type of things. So
Mhm.
he's dealing with that part, and like I said, I wanted to go ahead and have something that I could put out because you do have to stay active in this industry. So
And
That's
relevant.
Right.
Now, Blake, when you give your readers something different, how receptive are that to them? Are they, oh, this is not what I expected. This is not what I want. How
Right.
receptive?
Right.
How
I
receptive
think
are they?
it's probably half and half. Like you're gonna have half of them that
Really?
they really just want you to give what you normally write, and
Mhm.
they enjoy
Mhm.
that. And when you change it up, they're like, "Oh, I like the book, but that's not what I was expecting." And it's like you said, it's like
Exactly.
you kind
Mhm.
of know, right? Yeah, this is what it is. And so, but sometimes, like I tell readers, and it's just being real, even as a publisher, that's what I'll tell my writers sometimes is that, listen, you know, you got to write what's true to you, but at the same time, you do have to give the readers what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And so if you can kind of
Mhm.
mix them two things together, it comes out better
Mhm.
because Faith and Trust really was kind of a love story, but because I kind of write action fiction with that, I had to
Mhm.
put,
Mhm.
the action part in that to keep my audience, satisfied and willing to open up to the other part of it. So, and then this
Absolutely.
new
Mhm.
book that I'm working on is kind of like just a total deviation from what I normally write, but it's gonna be
Oh,
and
we
I
got
can't tell, and
to
you know how urban fiction is with ebooks. You got to have me back.
listen.
You got to have me back for that one. I already know because the subject matter on this book is gonna be something.
Okay, now.
Okay.
Listen.
Really?
Listen, Vision and Books 2022. Blake will be there with all of these books. I'm just saying.
That's guaranteed. That's guaranteed. But I trust you when this one drops, you gonna definitely want it because it has a lot of it has a lot of stuff in it. It's gonna be different.
But you know something, Blake. Leisha and I, we are readers first and foremost. We love to read, but we have our favorite authors, and no matter what they write, even if it's on a back of a paper bag, we are gonna
Two.
buy it, eat it up, and enjoy it because I rather have quality over quantity anytime. And if you're putting out something, you took the time to
Right.
write it. At least we so appreciate the process now because we're involved in it. We know the
Mhm.
process, what an author goes through to get a book in our hands. So we appreciate it even more so today. And if it's something good, I'm gonna read it. Because I love new stuff. And
Right.
if you're writing it and it's worth my while to read it, that's just me. So
And
Now
I
like
love I like.
I got
people
a
like
Mhm.
question
Al,
for
that's the foundation for real for African American books.
you.
We
Mm-hmm.
say
Mhm.
urban books. We know that's just a kind of trend. Now urban books has got to street books. At one
Yeah.
time, urban
Right.
books was just the word for black books, but
Right. Right.
Right.
now it's street books because
Mhm.
it's been hijacked. I used to tell people like I think Omar Tyree really had the first urban book with
Yeah.
Fly
Yeah.
Girl. They
Yeah.
Mhm.
created that demographic or that category for him, and so now
Right.
again it's just street books, but readers like you guys are really that foundational part that has taken us through this whole thing. And again, I'm
Mhm.
appreciative of the ebook because the ebook gave a lot of people an opportunity who would have never received an
Yeah.
opportunity to
Yeah.
become
Mhm.
an
Mhm.
author where they actually earning a full income from it.
Right.
Because
That's
Absolutely.
true.
there's how that saying go: when anything goes, everybody comes. And so I think that's the bad side of it is that when everybody can put forth what they've written, that everybody comes, and even people who necessarily don't really, they're not writers, they just see a way to get money, then it dilutes that craft part that goes with it to where we constantly improving. And then that's where you talk about with readership, where long as you guys are going to be the upholders of the quality of work, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Because
Mhm.
again, if titles just going to sell the book, then people will come up with the most craftiest titles. That's what
But
people
this
are
is
going
the
to do, and they're
thing.
going to just spit it out,
I
right?
always talk
Mhm.
about I always talk about eye candy. So, because we're visual people first. Men are probably more visual than women, but 90% of books sold are women. So it's your cover. Your cover has to draw them in. Even right down to the title, the way it lays, the colors you choose. Those are all things that excite people in their mind and draw people in. But I want you to
Mhm.
talk about the importance of letting the work breathe and allowing the readers to chew on what you have put out.
Again, I think if you're going to have longevity, see, one thing about that is if you look, and again, I'll tell my authors this: go back. You can look at the bestseller list from last year. 20 different names than the 20 that's on there this year. And you can do that the year
Mhm.
before, and the year before, and the year before. And that's
Mhm.
because those people didn't do what you're talking about. It's not really the quality of the writing. They just got onto a fad. They wrote that particular thing. And so when people go and get products strictly because of the look of the cover, well, the look of the covers can be reproduced, right? And whoever made
Mhm.
that cover, they
Mhm.
made 30 more like that. But they're not there for you. They're not there for the
Mhm.
name on the bottom. They're there for the look of the book and the title. And so
Right.
if you don't put good work out there, then the name on the bottom doesn't matter. And when the name on the bottom doesn't matter, then you can just keep putting out different people. It does you're not gonna never build an audience. And that's why a lot of writers went through things to where when publishing houses shut down, they couldn't sell books no more. Because you
Mhm.
never had a fan base really. It was just the publisher. Now
Mhm.
imagine if how would you have a best-selling book, and that means all these people read your book, but now they're not
Mhm.
reading your book because you're not with that publisher. Now that makes no
Oh,
sense, right? But
Mhm.
because you
Mhm.
didn't build an audience, you didn't really perfect your craft, and so
that's
because
right.
you counted on, and don't get that is one way to sell. You count on Amazon's algorithm to get your
Mhm.
book in the hands of people. But
Mhm.
it didn't do enough to where the people said, you know what? What else Blake Carrington wrote? I want to go back and read every single thing by them. And that's why you have to be
Exactly.
so diligent in making sure that the quality that you give out is something to where people want that name on the bottom because they know that I'm going to get a certain thing when I buy this book.
But I
Mhm.
always believe that even if you're with a publishing company, you have to stand out or stand out beyond that publisher, or be able to at least stand with them so that you can be seen. You don't want to fall and fade behind their image of
And
what
that's my
they're doing.
Mhm.
point. Right, because
Mhm.
again, if what they're going up there is on the name that says presents, that's why they buying your book. That's fine. That's the reason why they bought the book. But now the reason why they want to read your next book should be because of your name. That
That's
shouldn't
Right.
right.
matter about what's up
Mhm.
because and see that's what was different when we were with the larger publishing houses. They put your books in the store. You had to go hire your own publicist. That came out of your pocket. You had to get out there and grind and get your own audience to buy your book because if not, your book just sitting on the shelf in Barnes and Nobles, Walmart. Nobody's
Nobody
reading.
going to get it and it's getting returned.
Right.
I
And when
always
they
Mhm.
tell people it's important if you are signed to a publisher, their interest is their company.
right,
And so your responsibility is to make sure that you have your own team set up to push your
your book.
agenda because
Right,
they're only pushing their own agenda. And so
right.
if you don't mix and mingle, see the one thing that goes into the visual eye candy of the book is your personality. So, and I'm just going to say this: every author is not marketable.
Right,
However, you have to make that effort to be, because your personality draws them in. Your why draws them in. Things about you. So if you're hiding behind the publisher and you're not interacting
oh, yeah,
with the
yeah,
readers,
right.
Mhm.
they're only going to
Yeah.
see the publisher. They're not going to see you.
Right, right. And I think that's again, that's that laziness sometimes that because some people are just writers, they're just authors. They're not gonna be, like you said, the best marketing people. They might not even be
Mhm.
marketable.
Mhm.
So I get that part, but there has to, as an if you're in today's time, because again, people are able to interact with you. It's not like before where you didn't know where you weren't going to see Elin Harris or Eric Jerome Dickey unless they were coming to your city. And
Right. You
so,
have to
Mhm.
go
you
stand
know,
in line.
right. There was no way for you to just go on there and say, hey, you know, what you working on? And then if Eric Jerome Dickey
Mhm.
don't respond, you say, hell, I ain't never read no more of your books because you ain't responding. Right. So but that's the reality of how it is now. And so with that, I think that, like you said, if you're an author and you got to find a median, and even if your thing is that you're not that person that you're going to engage every day, then you need to figure out a way to at least stay active, so that, again, like you said, so people can have some type of engagement with you and know what's going on, because it's so much material coming to market. It's easy to forget you. Like, you know, there are hundreds of books being dropped almost weekly, every other week. So yeah, it's
So
easy to
true.
forget.
I want to ask you, Blake, you talked about, even though they may have named so and so presents, but the reader is looking at who the book is by. How important do you feel, and especially with this ebook age, to always have your library tightened up, to go back and tighten up your earlier work? How important is that?
Well, I think that is definitely important, because if you whenever you get a new reader, I have found that most of the time when they reach out to me, they'll say, "Well, I see that you da da da," and they'll say, "What else have you written?" And I'll be like, "Man,
Right.
I wrote a bunch of books." And now this is the crazy part. Like, I'll get in a group and I'll say, "Yeah, such and such." They'll be like, "Okay, what have you written?" And I'm like,
I'm
"Hey,
like,
I've been writing for a while, right?" So I was like, "Yo, you really want this whole list?" But the reality of it is that there's a bunch of people who never even heard of you. And so you don't
Right.
know which one of your works will be their introduction
Their
to you.
first read.
And so
Exactly.
you want to make sure that's why all of them should be tightened up, like you said, to make sure that, hey, no matter which book you grab, I'm confident in that. Right.
yeah.
And even I'm hoping that even as I write more, that you can see the growth in my writing ability, and the product that I'm trying to put out, because again, we're learning so much. I know I am, even as I'm still writing, because I'm going into other avenues, and then I'm looking and saying, okay, let me look. Okay, I see how this is. Let me add this part to my portfolio, so that it's just
Right.
not just coming. It's like, okay, like we've read like 10 stories like that, and it's just I can almost put the characters in each book because they're the same. Let me go ahead and work on my stuff too and change it up. Because although I love Jay-Z, it depends on which mood I'm in, on which Jay-Z I want to listen to.
Right,
Right.
right, right, right.
So if I'm on my grown man, then I want to listen to the 444. I want to listen to, Watch the Throne, something like that. But now if I'm in my old reminiscent type thing, then I'm going to go back. I want the Black Album. I want, Reasonable Doubt. And so that's what I think about when I'm doing the books. It's like, well, what mood a person is. Person don't always want to
Right.
read about just that, So.
And also there are those readers that you may not, that are just low key, they don't be out front, and they read a book of yours and they say, okay, I like this, so let me go back and just get everything that he's ever written. Though there are so many readers like that you're not even aware of, so you
Yeah.
always want your best work to be reflective of who you are.
That's what I tell my authors is, like, you think about this. If you say you got a best-selling book on Amazon, you may have had 2-3 million pages read. That might be, let's say, 100,000 different people. Well, you only got
Right.
5,000 friends on Facebook. You probably
That's
only
right.
interact with, let's say 1,000 of them. So that's not
Exactly.
all. It's another 90-some thousand people out here that
The
read your
whole
book
world out
that's
there.
never right. They never gonna interact with you or anything.
But you know what? I
Exactly.
will say, I never used to. If I read a book that I did not like, I never would write a review for it. I wouldn't do it, because I just felt like, okay, I didn't like it, but I didn't want to mess up anyone else's view about the book. That was then. That was back then. And then Cash was like, if you don't write the review, good or bad, how's the author gonna know? How are they gonna know what it is? But now I say your reviews are a reader's soundboard.
Right.
You got to look at the context. Sometimes they done gave you 1 star just because you done killed off Freddie, and Freddie was that rude. And you know how people is about her man. Oh, you done mess with my man. Oh,
Right.
I'm about to give him 1 star.
And that's what I was gonna say. That's the hard part with it. I'm like you. I think that if I would probably inbox that person or something if I just wanted to. Now I know a lot of people don't take any critique at all very well. But that's the bad
Mhm.
part about the way, because most people are selling now on Amazon. That's the major platform. A review really can cost them so much, because sometimes the situation is just that the person got the wrong type of book. It's like
That's
if
right.
if I like country
Mhm.
western music and I pick up a rap album, it don't matter what it is, I'm not gonna like it because that's not my
Mhm.
particular genre.
Sometimes,
Mhm.
but
Sometimes,
the best
right,
thing I like about street lit books or urban books is that you get multiple genres in one book. Depending on the author, they can write multiple genres in that one book. T
and
Styles is one of those. She'll take you to the Congo, drop you off, put you on the
right,
corner, drop you off in corporate America. And you're like, wow,
right,
I don't been around the world. You're excited. There are authors that their writing skill is kind of like driving on the highway. I'm driving down 75. Every exit is something
right,
popping off, and I'm
right,
excited.
right.
And so you do that too. So you have, it's like you said, going back and horning in on your skill, because you
Yeah,
got to be able to give them more, and prevent boxing yourself into that one box. You
right.
got to give them romance. You got to give them erotica. You got to give them all.
All of that. And see, I
Mm-hmm.
think that the categories that Amazon has laid out, and this is partially on us just as African American buyers and publishers and readers, is that we have limited to where there's certain times that my book should not really be in urban, but I'm
Yeah.
forced to
Mhm.
put it in urban because that's where my readers are, and I won't reach them if I say that, you know what, this is really women's fiction, or this is really
Right.
Mhm.
general African American literature, or this is really
Mhm.
erotica. And so, because once
Mhm.
you do that, a lot of the readers, they're not going to those particular subcategories. And so, a lot of times, I think that we're just kind of being forced to place everything. It's like, I think if you go on there right now, the top urban erotica book, I think it has a white main character. It's not urban, but
Really?
people are choosing categories based off of how they can possibly sell. And so
Mhm.
that's one of those things that, that's a whole nother, that's more of a business type of issue that some of us have sometimes with Amazon. It's like, hey, we need to be able to open up these genres because Black people realize, I mean, this is vast literature. We're not
Mm-hmm.
all
Mhm.
gonna write urban street books. Not everything
Mhm.
that I put out is that. So
Mhm.
I agree with you that there are authors who can do that.
Mhm.
Not a whole lot, but there are those who can do that and be real successful with that. I'm being honest. Like this, a lot of them are.
Right.
I want to say something, Blake, because you touched on something that I have experienced before, and that's on the reviews. Because I like to give a review, but I had read a book, and it was so riddled with errors. And me being an editor, I didn't want to bash the author leaving a bad review. But I
Mhm.
don't, it was very hard to get into the book. And I hate starting a book and not finishing it. I know Leash has her 5 pages or so, but I hate starting a book and not being able to finish it. And I didn't know the
Mhm.
author well enough to go into their inbox. I mean, how
Mhm.
receptive are you as an author when someone just says, I really enjoyed the book, but I couldn't enjoy it because it was just filled with so many errors. It was just hard to follow, especially if you haven't had a previous relationship with this reader.
With
How
that person,
receptive
right?
of that is you?
Well,
It's
and
a
I'm
hard,
older,
it's
right? That's what I can
hard.
say. I know that I'm older, and I'm a open person. So for me,
Hmm.
I'm not, I take everything and again, like I was saying, sometimes like I've had people before where like a young lady told me, she said, yeah, I'm thinking of somebody told me you're a publisher and everything, and I was thinking about giving you an opportunity to publish my book, but tell me why
Hmm.
I should do that. And I'm really
Oh.
like I never even heard of her. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I said, well, just do your research and everything, and then let me
Hmm.
know if you're interested. But I think so because I'm older, I'm definitely more open to it. Now I have
Hmm.
been because I remember one time I had did a book called God Forgives the Streets Don't, and
Hmm.
this young lady left a review on that. She said, obviously, you did not do your research on this book because she was from New York, and I had a character in there from New York who had gold teeth and everything. She's like, because nobody from New York wear gold teeth. That's something that people from down south do. And I had responded to her. I was like, "Man, what's your age?" Because I'm not writing about stuff I don't know. I was in New York in that year period that I was, when I wrote this book, I know what they were doing and stuff. And so her review, although I took it, it was incorrect because I didn't know that part. And I was like, you should do your research on that because you're probably younger. So it's not to say that I'm going to take it, and especially when you start talking about stuff from a grammatical standpoint and punctuation, because a lot of times I put that in the hands of my editor. And every time we're not using the same editor because sometimes that editor is busy. We trying to get something to market because we want to sell it, that type of thing. And so that helps me in knowing whether or not that person really did their job. Because if I knew grammatical and punctuation perfectly, I wouldn't be hiring anyone. So I think I would be more receptive to it. But again, like I was saying earlier, just in honesty, Toni, a lot of people, they have the desire to write, and sometimes they don't have the finances that's needed. Yeah. And they're so, zealous about just getting the book out. That to them it's just the cover and the story. Let's go.
And that's it.
That's it. And so
it comes off like that. And it comes off like that.
Because they fail to really realize that you are a business. Once you put that book out, you are a business. It's no more a hobby, something you love to do. It is, but at the same time, it's not, because you have to make that business decision, and you have to be able to do those things correctly. And that's very, very important. Now, I want to switch it up a little bit because you have a lot of authors that are seeking literary agents. They want to have their books in Simon & Schuster, Carl Weber. They want to do all these things.
Right.
That's a long process, pitching books. And a lot of times it depends on their mindset, because you're literally waiting for somebody to tell you that you are good enough.
Right. Well, and the thing is that that's the thing. Ebook publishing is way different than traditional publishing. And so, like you said, when you was talking about even it being a business, and a lot of them don't understand this particular part. Like in ebooks, people say, "Oh, I want all my books back. I'm tired. This not working. This ain't do what I wanted to do." And like in traditional publishing, that's not happening, first of all.
At all.
Contract. So if they don't give you leave or whatever, they will sue you for the remaining part that they feel like they're owed. I've seen people upside down in book deals. Just like you be upside down in a car, because you get an advance on your book, and let's say your first book comes out and it doesn't sell enough to recoup the advance and then the money that was spent in the production. So then you go into your second book in the negative. And some people's second book don't recover from the advance and the sales and the production. So now that person is upside down in the book deal. They got to try to produce a way to get themselves out of that so that they can even move on. But like you're saying, again, when you go and first of all, I used to tell people, if you're not going to just get into Walmart. We already know there's only certain distribution companies that's going to be able to produce the volume that's needed to get into Walmart. Now, the thing is that the person who goes into Walmart, most of the time never even heard of you. Even if you've been number one on Amazon for 2 years, some of these people that go in there, they've never heard of you. Because if they did, Amazon predominantly sells ebooks. So the buyer for that is going to buy ebook. People who buy paperback are normally not people who go on there to look at Amazon's bestseller. So now you're talking about a whole new audience. And if you're not doing any work to get to that audience, then the chances of your book selling is none. Now, you said something earlier that I remember when I was an early publisher. We used to deal with Bacon, Taylor, and Ingram. And I remember my first time I had my books out, and I said, Bacon Taylor said, "Yeah, send me 10,000 of them." I said, "Oh man, 10,000 went out." Now in my mind, I'm thinking I just sold 10,000 books. I'm thinking, you guys sharing about this. I'm thinking I just sold 10,000 books. So about 3 months in the process, back then it was 90 to 120 days before you got paid. So now you know what I'm expecting in 90 days. I'm expecting a check for the whole 10,000. But then I had other titles, so they was calling in, ordering other titles. So I was like, okay, man, this money.
I'm really doing
it. Listen, when I got that check, and it might have been like $2,000, $3,000, and I was like, hold on, these people got like $8,000 books. And then they give me, back then again, you get this paper, and it's hard to read because they don't distribute these books. I don't know nothing about returns. I don't know about none of that, right? So, yeah, it is a rude awakening when you realize that just because they ship 20,000 books don't mean now you want to hear something for real. And Walmart don't do returns. Walmart destroys the books.
Oh, man, you just
really
right there.
They tear the front cover off because they say it costs them too much money to return the books and ship them back to you.
Oh, Lord.
They worked it.
Wow.
So, yeah, I tell if you're
that
not
hurts.
really familiar with that, that's a whole nother right there.
Yes,
a hard pill to swallow.
It is. And again, if you're not built for that, and then you got to print the books. So, you used to print these books and then you ship them and then you do all this and then you got to wait 120 days to get partial paid. And it was a lot.
Yeah, and that's what
you're going to get them out.
We always say you got to know what you know because you know it. And with every level that you want to accomplish in this industry, you have to learn your craft. You got to understand the business side of it. And for a long time, there was never really a lot of talk about the business side of books. There wasn't a lot of talk about the business side of books, so people never understood that business side. Like, you're signed with a publisher, they don't put out all these books, but then half the books came back returned, and you couldn't understand why you didn't get no money.
Right.
Because you got your books in 20 different stores, but who you got going to get them books out in 20 different stores?
And there was a lot of good people who were publishers who, again, they didn't know really how the publishing industry worked. So a lot of them didn't, like me, they didn't know that those books were not selling. So what would happen is that as an author, you may call and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, we just sold 5,000 books. So just like I'm waiting on that check, you're waiting on a check that you've done the math in your head on what you should be receiving. And then when the money didn't come in like that, then you realize, and the author thinks, well, then the publisher don't did something because I know that these amount of books were happening. So, and before, you used to have book scan. So publishers didn't go and get book scan. They didn't want to pay the price because the rate used to be almost $1,000 back when you had to have the broker codes and everything. You had to have ISBN to even do a book. Well, Amazon doesn't share their sales. So because of that, you don't know really what you're selling outside of what Amazon just tells you. And then, you got to hope that your publisher, and I get it, in some regards, they don't want to share a direct record with the authors because other people's information is tied in there. So, yeah, it's different.
It's a whole thing. It's
yeah. But like you said, as far as getting an agent now, I don't really know. It's so hard now because I don't know fully what an agent, unless they really, really can put you into a great deal. I don't know what, you would get an agent for.
Well, I mean, their job is really to broker the deal for you. But especially with COVID, what I've noticed, being just a new agent, I've noticed that the market in the U.S. is a little slow as far as the editors. But I noticed that the UK they're rolling them out. So I can kind of see where other countries are working. And so depending on, I guess, the temperature of the times, I think that kind of like distracts people a lot, where publishers may not be putting into or willing to put into a lot of money as they were before, because now with COVID, it's like, okay, they're in a business pivot now. You know, every business is in a business pivot now. So they're trying to figure out how are we going to last through this? How are we going to make this happen? In the event this happen again, we got 5 agencies. We got 25 editors. You know, how are we going to be able to manage what we got going on? And I think that right now they're really trying to figure out. They're bumping around in the dark, trying to figure out, you know, this one's getting sold here, picked up here, you know, and when we hear about it, we think it's something that just happened, but it's probably been in the works for a year or two. Right. They knew it was getting sold. They were preparing. And so that's why it's very important that you understand.
Right. And I don't think, though, for you, like now, an agent would have to do so much work now because you almost, not only you got to be the agent, you got to be the educator.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you got to be.
You got to make sure it's polished because that's their
editor. You're gonna have to.
Yeah, that's their whole thing.
You got to.
That's their whole thing. Their whole thing is it's not polished. They feel that your synopsis not polished. We feel that they didn't put their best foot forward. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and you want it polished to the best of your ability, but at the same time, authors don't understand that. When I say you're gonna have to go back in that book and fix this,
right?
You're gonna have to fix it before you send it to them, because if they feel that they gotta put so much money into the book, they're gonna be like, no, not too much money. Oh, $2? Nope, we can't afford it. You know what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that you are grabbing them. And one thing that frustrates me is don't send me like a 2-page email on why you are. I appreciate it. But don't send me a 2-page email on why you're refusing, like why you're denying them. Okay, because I can tell by the first 4 sentences when you said it didn't come together for me,
right?
That it either wasn't the genre that you liked,
right?
You didn't match with the book at some point, and when that happens, you start nitpicking that small stuff. So now I'm reading 2 pages of your nitpicking.
Right, right. Yeah,
and
that's why I say it. I gotta imagine right now that's a lot of work. That is a lot of work. Now, when I used to do agency work, especially when Vicky used to do the agency and stuff like that. But then it was easy because it was just really who you knew. So it's like, to be honest, they would call me all the time. Like, who else you got? Who you got? Who you got? Who you got? And because all of them were looking for the St. Martin's Press, Simon & Schuster, Kensington, Atria, all these guys were looking for authors. So it did not used to be that hard. It just used to be like, oh, okay, I think I got somebody, and you would just send it. And so now, like I said, I can just imagine the workload that you would have in just trying to get a good product up there that they can see some viability in. Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Well, but you know what? I think I'm a newer agent, and I started in January, and I had 4 clients that first week. Okay. So I think that I've been blessed with some great clients that are authors. Like if I say this is not working, 2 weeks later it's working. You know, and so I think that's why I get frustrated when you give me the two-page refusal, and it's like I know they really worked hard for it. You could have said that it just didn't come together for me. Now all I need to know is, as a reader, what did not mesh with you. What part didn't come together for you? You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for a development answer. I'm not looking for what else, the editing and that's picking. Right. What about the story itself? I look at books as like an M&M. M&M's got the chocolate, they got the coating, they got the shell. And so you can have a great shell, but you got to put work in it to put the peanut in it and all of that. So I need to know developmental wise, what is it missing that's not making it a complete M&M?
Yeah, right.
But that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother
show. Yeah, I was gonna say, I definitely got some good people that you can get in touch with, because I have a lot of them hit me up a lot of times, just ask me what do I have, and I just be like, right now.
Okay, well, I'm calling you now. Don't be acting like you can't answer the phone.
No, because you busy. Listen, normally I be moving and shaking, but COVID got me in the house, so it's just like you can't go nowhere. you go somewhere, you can't sit down. You can't do them to go get them and come back.
It's like I
Yeah.
know you home because we all home.
I know, right?
Wait a minute, we even scared to go to the doctor. Like, listen, my son, he been asleep for like forever, and I really think he got cabin fever and he bored. And I was like, "Are you sick? Do you feel okay? Do we really I gotta take you to the doctor because if it's something we can fix here, because they got real sick people over there." And and then when you go in there, it's like, do I want to sit down? Did y'all wipe it down good? Do y'all use bleach when y'all wipe stuff down?
Right. Yeah, I don't watch everything on TV, so I'm like, there's no sports on, so it's just like I'm tired of just watching the same stuff. So. But yeah, definitely hit me up on that. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, we love that you came and took time to come and kick it with us in the chat room. You know, we like to do something fun in the chat room. This is your first time in the chat room officially. So, you know, Tico asked you a fun question. I don't know nothing about it. I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm just here for commentary.
Okay.
So I know what she's going to ask you. Go ahead, Steve.
No problem. It's going to be an easy night because it's your first live with us. You haven't been with us in a while, but thank you for joining us. Now, if you can be an animal, any animal in the kingdom, what would you be and why?
I would be a wolf. And I would be a wolf because the thing that I love about wolves, you know how they always say you never see the lion is strong, tiger, but you never see a wolf in the circus. Because wolf or like dogs, they're pack animals. And you have to constantly show the reason why you deserve to be the pack leader. They're always going to challenge that. And so because of that, I like the feeling that yes, you got to have a great team. But then if you're going to be the leader of that team, you got to always prove the reason why you're supposed to be sitting in that spot. And so that keeps
we love this.
For anything.
That's
so
good.
definitely a wolf.
Okay, that gives us an insight on why you and the way you think. So that's why we do this.
Yeah. So I got one. You have the ability to write an anthology. You can have 3 authors in it, dead or alive. Who would you choose and why?
Man. Oh, you just making this is hard. Yeah, I gotta narrow it down to 3. Definitely Walter Mosley. I just always love Walter Mosley stuff. Like to me, he gives you, like we was talking about earlier, and when you talk about every element, if you got that street feel, if you got that love feel, you got that soul feel, it just, it's a ride. So definitely Walter Mosley. Man. And I'm in between because it's not really fiction, but I love Donald Goins too, because Donald Goins takes you, when you're reading Dope Fiend, you know what it feels like, or you feel like you know what it feels like to actually be shooting heroin, to actually be involved in all.
He was writing about real stuff. There was
That's
real
what I'm saying.
It
was so, and I used to read those books. Him and Iceberg Slim, like I used to have the books marked up, because it just be so like engulfed. And then see that because like Toni Morrison, Bluest Eyes was like one of my favorite books. But then I can't leave out like James Baldwin, and I like James Baldwin just because I like James Baldwin on a whole nother level. Just on his social.
He was a thinker. Yeah, I love that he was a thinker. Yeah.
Like and I don't know what type of book that would be because I got Donald Baldwin. I don't even know what kind of book.
But you know what? The best part about those pens though is that they're so seasoned. If you gave them a direction, they can take that direction, make it their own, and then you like, yes, okay. I don't even know. I think I want to keep this for myself, but you gotta have the right.
I just thought about Ernest Gaines, A Lesson Before Dying. That's my favorite book. Oh.
This is why we do what we do on Let's Chat. Y'all see this? Y'all see, like, you guys see an author, you guys see a publisher, but then you get to really experience him. That's why we do what we do. We like our listeners to be able to experience y'all passion, y'all intent, y'all grind. And when they experience that, they either create a new reader for you, or it creates a respect for you that they didn't have before, or more of a respect for you, because it's like, wow, just to see his passion just about books in general, just to see that he's a thinker. You gotta get over here. So a wolf, the little things like that. Readers like to be able to experience you, and we like to be able to allow you guys to be experienced on our platform. So we thank you so much for coming to kick it with us. We want to shout out. You are welcome. Shout out all your social media where anybody can grab your books, anything you got coming out, any virtual events or interviews you want people to tune into. Let us know. Let us know.
The Blake Karrington, and that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I got a new book, but I can't say it because right now this urban industry, they steal your title.
He's burning. He want to share. He want to share so bad.
But listen, trust me, you got to have me back for that.
Yes,
by that time,
absolutely.
I'm going to mesh these three authors together too. But beyond that, you're going to want to have me back because it is something, it's dealing with a lot of stuff. And you're going to want to have me back. So
we always want to have you back.
Now listen, if you ever need some readers, now listen, you got 4 eyes over here that we don't mind.
That's right.
We don't mind.
That's for sure. Well, I'm gonna take both of y'all up on that. So I'm definitely, once I get done with this, I'm hoping to be done by sometime next week. I'm gonna shoot it to you, take a look at for me, get that feedback.
Okay, don't forget. All right, sure. And we give critical feedback.
Well, we like that. I think in fact, you know what? On this book that I'm writing, I love to get your critical feedback on this. This is gonna be interesting.
Okay, tell us the genre. Tell us the genre. Just the genre.
Is erotica.
Now listen. We gonna put this.
Tell them, Lish.
We gotta put this disclaimer because listen, male authors don't inbox me. I'm just saying, women write the best erotica books. Y'all think a little bit too much. So,
but you know what?
Wait! Don't use the big words. Don't use the big, huge words. Talking about something you making love to our mind. That's not working. And if it's gonna be nasty, let it be nasty. Yeah. If not, please send them to Starbucks for some coffee and conversation.
I got
don't be giving us 5 foreplay scenes. Talking about something that's a sex scene that's not gonna work.
Nah. And you know what? That's why, like we said, I say, I'm challenging, but I think that this is gonna be great because, again, the subject matter is gonna be very, very interesting for you.
Oh, Lord.
It really is gonna be. And I think once I get my cover and I put my cover out there, my title, then I know that you're gonna say, okay, I get what he's talking about. But also because, like you said, you women, you know it from y'all side. Now I want to show you it from not our side, but different aspects of our side and your side.
Okay.
So I'm giving you some insight on both sides with this one.
Okay. See,
I'm
a little not right, because now I'm like, okay, well, he said that he got a difficult time writing female characters. So how he gonna write an erotic female character that we feel? Because like Toni said before, we gotta feel it. If they sweating, we sweating. If I need ice cubes, if she crying, I'm crying. I want to be crying. All that.
Well, Toni had already told me, and I was there. She was like, "You got to do your research. You got to ask."
That's right.
Yeah. So we already halfway there now. That's why I said.
Okay. We're gonna be looking for it.
Sounds good. And I thank y'all so much for having me. I remember the event that we came down for. That was some years ago, right?
That was 2017. Blake was at the my Eat and Greet, which was my first event I ever did. Since then, I've changed the name to Vision and Books. So we had one in this year in February, and then we skipped next year.
I still got my picture somewhere around here. I don't know where my picture is. I still got my picture.
And then we were doing Vision and Books 2022, actually on my birthday. So I'm going to be doing Vision and Books and celebrate my birthday. So we're going to have, it's going to be bigger than it was this year because we're going to have an Eat and Greet, kind of like a little party mixer, and just have a good time of literature, books. And I appreciate you. Whenever I ask you to do something, you never say no. You like, all right.
No question. I appreciate you guys for even being able to still have somebody who want to reach out. That when I got that problem, that's when I got a problem. So ain't a problem with people reaching out and me doing it though. But I thank you so much again for having me. And I appreciate you,
You're
ladies.
very welcome.
Absolutely. We thank you so much for coming and kicking with us in the chat room. Y'all, no worries. Y'all can always come watch the replay of this on our YouTube page as well as Ebony TV. Make sure that y'all tune in to Ebony TV so that y'all can see the full replay of today's show. Thank you so much, Blake. We appreciate you.
Thank
And
you,
we'll
Blake.
talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Oh goodness, that was
awesome.
so great. That was so great because it was like a whole moment in literature where you get to be able to experience just literature itself and the process of it. You know, I love creativity. I'm a sucker for somebody's creativity. I love just the creative process and being able to see how they moved around and how they sold their books and the things that they did to make it happen. So I love it. I love it. I love it. We will see you guys tomorrow. And tomorrow, I believe we are live tomorrow. We might be on the radio.
We might be on the radio tomorrow.
We might be on the radio tomorrow. We're doing too much. But yes, we're on the radio tomorrow. We appreciate you guys. We have a special show on Monday as well. So why don't you guys tune in to Let's Chat? We appreciate you guys. Thank you for your support, and we will talk to y'all soon.
Good night.